You're watching GCTV, Community Access Cable Channel 15 in Greenfield, Massachusetts.
Back together and guard the eight.
We'll have our roll call. Okay, we will start with A's, and that will be Ashfield. Ashfield, are you here? I'm here. Bernardston?
We're here.
Buckland? Charlemont? Coleraine? Conway?
Here.
Deerfield?
Here.
Irving? Gill? There's so many people here, Greenfield? He's here. He's on the phone. Okay. Hawley? Heath?
Here.
Leverett? Here. Leiden? Here. Monroe? Montague?
Here.
New Salem?
Here.
Northfield? Orange?
Here.
Rowe? Shelburne?
Here.
Tewksbury? Here. Sunderland?
Hi.
John.
Oh,
Warwick?
sit up front?
Wendell?
Here.
Whately? Here. Bill Perlman, regionally elected.
Here.
Jay DePucchio, regionally elected. And
Ask about Gil again.
Gil.
What about Bill?
And Jim Bassford.
Here.
Planning board.
He's on
Okay,
it.
Gil's here.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, hold on one second.
Very well.
Gil. Okay, we have votes, a lot of people here, 19 members and 75.21% of the vote of the total membership, so we're all set to go.
Thank you. Has everyone read the July 18th meeting minutes?
Make a motion that we accept the minutes as written. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Yep.
How many abstentions? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, thank you. 6? 6, thank you.
Okay. I'd like to welcome our newcomers this evening. Is Heather here? No, Heather's not here. Okay. Patricia Duffy, she's an engaged citizen from Leverett. Hi. Trevor McDaniel here.
Hold on, Pat and I worked together when our children were in kindergarten, organizing a huge event at the elementary school of our children. We don't do it ever. It was awesome.
Thanks for sharing it.
Wow.
It is.
Trevor McDaniel, Chair of the Deerfield Select Board, and an old friend of mine, Jane Pierce, Select Board member and alternate representative for Orange. Really is like kind of old. The next council meetings will be January 30th with a snow date of February 6th and April 16th. We would like everyone to make every effort to attend the January 30th council meeting. It's the meeting at which the FRCOG's FY21 budget will be presented for endorsement. A financial quorum is required, so please mark your calendars now. If you can't make it, be in touch with your alternate so he or she can attend to represent your municipality. Council meetings are held here in the Transit Center.
Can you please repeat those dates?
January 30th with a snow date of February 6th and April 16th.
Thank you.
Typically it's 5:30.
Yes. Yep.
Oh, okay, thank you.
On January 16th, the Finance Committee will meet to review and approve the final FY21 budget. The committee welcomes council members' attendance at that meeting for advanced review of the budget. That meeting is held upstairs in room 221. Finally, thank you to Jane Pierce for agreeing to sit on our personnel committee. We're looking for at least one more member and would welcome more. Please let myself or Linda know if you would like to join this committee. Okay, Jay isn't here
Jay is not, no.
tonight, so who's going to be the executive
We need-
committee? Okay, Bill?
First item is concerning memos of understanding between the council and the municipalities regarding the county emergency communication system. We have significantly changed the memo of understanding, given that our impending move to the state radio system, the 800 radio system, and then the eventual decommissioning of the system we currently have, whether that's going to be some time out in the future. It clearly outlines the responsibilities of both the COG and its member municipalities related to the radio system, equipment insurance, financing, operation, etc. We also discussed and voted to approve the Oversight Committee Operating Procedures Manual, which is revised to reflect the transition from an external system manager to an internal staff member. We have contracted with outside agencies until recently to do radio system management, and we think, and it's turning out to be true, that we have a person on the committee who we can hire as a staff member, and it's Kurt Seaman, and he's doing an excellent job as system manager, even with the limited hours that he works. So it's we're getting better results and less expensive. We also were given a presentation based on a question I had on information technology security measures. And these include daily backup, weekly server backup, off-site use of firewalls, virtual private network, strict access protocol for accounting program, screening and quarantine of emails, and a maintenance contract with Northeast IT. And we seem to be fairly well protected. There's an awful lot of hacking and hostage taking of data, so I think we're probably as well protected as anybody at this point. We've received 2 county road action petitions from the city of Greenfield, one for Woodward Road, which is the road behind Applebee's, I guess, and that goes to the motor vehicle office down there, and for Court Square, which is right out in front of the City Hall of Greenfield. Both requested discontinuance of those areas as county roads, and they will be discontinued and accepted as Greenfield city roads. We also learned of our staff's intention, along with Natalie Blay and Senator Comerford, to convene a forum focused on wastewater issues in Franklin County at the end of the month. I don't have
November 1st.
November 1st, okay, so beginning of next month. We also then convened as an Economic Development District Governing Board to appoint suggested members to the SEDS committee. The executive committee is now the Economic Development District Governing Board. which was new this year. So we're doing what we're supposed to do. And that's it.
All right, thank you. Now, Linda Dunlap, the executive director.
Hi, everyone. First, let me tell you about a grant we just submitted which was a cooperative effort with the Mass Hire Workforce Investment Board, Employment Board. Andrew, what is it called now?
It's just the workforce board, yeah.
Workforce Board. It was MassDOT came out with some new funding to look at public transportation alternatives. And Andrew and Megan from our staff worked together to see if we could create basically a ride-sharing program with some of our employers. And between Andrew and Megan, we got how many employers to offer match?
11.
11 employers putting match in, plus we got funding from the Community Foundation for match. So I think we have a really competitive grant
Plus
application.
2 banks and 2 credit unions.
It was quite an effort and a coup to get that application in. So we'll keep you informed on that. I do want to say that the rural policy plan was all-consuming over the summer, and we did not get the RFP out for either our website overhaul or for our look at succession and strategic planning. So now that the rural policy plan is out, we will be going back to looking at those special projects for the COG that you provided funding for in FY20. That said, the rural policy plan is out. It was launched on October 2nd in the State House in front of the Legislative Rural Caucus. That was on a Wednesday, and then it was presented again at the were you there, Tom? At the 4-county summit. I heard it was well received, and it was a good presentation. I will say I am sure that we have not addressed all of the issues that are out there, but we've addressed a lot of them. And the plan now will be to try to implement recommendations, the top recommendation being to create an Office of Rural Policy in Boston so that rural issues are at the forefront of policy and legislation. And then there are more than 100 recommendations over 15 focus areas that we will be advocating and working on in the coming years. I hope that you saw that we have concluded a 10-year effort. It may even have started with Jane Pierce when she worked for the county to create a river corridor management toolkit. And the two major things that are coming out of the river corridor management toolkit is a river corridor protection overlay district, a model bylaw that towns could look at. And that would be a model bylaw that is really recognizing where a river wants to go and trying to create a bylaw to acknowledge that rivers flood. The other really cool thing coming out of that work is a river corridor easement restriction. For those of you that were at the council meeting, maybe it was about a year ago, where Kimberly McPhee did a slideshow. And remember that she showed some slides of an area of Conway that repeatedly floods, and that this would be working with the Franklin Land Trust to create an easement that would allow the river to flood in that area. And so working with the landowners to have them not use that land you could use it for farmland, but not try to development, make it an easement to allow the river to flood. Pretty cool cooperative project with Franklin Land Trust. Look for that study, it's on our website. We've received $65,000 to do regional energy planning assistance, and that's going to help 15 communities with their green communities designation and getting more grants and do the annual reporting for their green community obligations. The Municipal Vulnerabilities Preparedness Program grant, new round of grant funding is going to be announced soon. Remember, that is a very good program because it allows you to do planning and then implementation. It's a soup to nuts grant program, so if your town is not involved in it, please think about getting involved. It's a good one. We received another $200,000 of brownfields assessment money. So if any of your towns may have a potential brownfield site, and remember that brownfields assessment is usually the first step to looking at redeveloping a site, determining if it's clean and can be redeveloped as is or needs to be cleaned up. This is your first step funding for redevelopment, so call us if you need it. We're getting close to Census 2020. The postcards that says that it is time to complete your census online will come out in March. We probably will want to have another workshop coming up, probably in January-ish. We may want to address that at the council meeting in January. But we are looking for your help in getting town halls, libraries, police stations, everyone involved. We've talked about this in the council meeting before, where we see your local police being involved is that everyone is going to get a postcard. They may call, your residents may call the police to say, is this a scam? It is not. It is now for the first time online. For the towns without broadband, we want to have library times where people can go and have a collaborative response to the census, so that we make sure that we get the very strongest number we can for Franklin County. Starting this year, we're going to do our the first year of our 5-year comprehensive economic development strategy. We've revamped our SEDS committee so that we have more involvement of regional organizations that will help us implement our economic development plan, so we're excited about that. Moving on to collective purchasing, October 1st was the start date for collective bids for water treatment chemicals, road sand, winter rock salt, liquid road pretreatment, and also dog tags and licenses. So if you have questions about that, call Andrea or Ellen, our new collective purchasing staff person. Thanks to the efforts of primarily Phoebe and use of DLTA funds, District Local Technical Assistance Funds, we now have a regional animal control officer housed at the Sheriff's Department and serving Northfield, Gill, Colerain, Heath, Monroe, Buckland, and Shelburne. So that is an exciting announcement to make. Bill talked a little bit about this, but on September 5th, we held a forum about the Franklin County Emergency Communication System. For those of you that weren't there, the Secretary of EOTS, the Executive Office of Technology, Safety, and Security, EOTS. The Secretary was there and clearly announced his commitment to moving Franklin County to the statewide emergency communication system, so that was really good. Our next milestone related to that project is that we expect the COMERS is the name of the statewide emergency communication system. We expect the expansion engineering study to be done sometime in October. As soon as that is out, we'll be reviewing it to see how Franklin County's migration has been integrated, and also to see how they are thinking they're going to address the paging issue. So I expect we will have another update in January, and I expect it will be favorable. Next, local officials workshop is on mosquito control district services. More important to all of us since EEE has been actively found in Massachusetts. Please think about going to that workshop.
November 14th.
Thank you, Phoebe. It's on November 14th. Did you all see on page 9 of the council updates the lovely picture of Randy Crozier, our new health agent? I'm sure that many of you know Randy because he was a long-time Gill Select Board member, has been our food agent, food inspection person for many, many years, and is now our full-time health agent. So we're super excited to have Randy serving us in that capacity.
And hopefully still a select board member.
Sorry,
Many,
did I
many
say
more
past
years.
tense? Sorry.
It
I
sounded
realized
like
it
past
sounded,
tense.
it did
Yeah.
sound past tense when I said it, sorry. The other thing is, please take the train. We have 2 years to more than double ridership. We need to have 24,000 new riders by the end of our 2-year pilot period. We did get marketing money both from MassDOT and from the Mass Office of Travel and Tourism, thanks to Senator Comerford.
I took it.
Thank you.
It's a very nice train.
Thank you. We are probably going to focus on targeting events, bringing people here to like the Green River Festival, cider days, etc. But we will also work on encouraging people to go somewhere. WRSI just did a great event where more than 100 people took the train to New Haven for a private concert. Then they had pizza, then they took the train back. It was awesome. And so that is probably the kind of marketing we will do, but the service is available. Please take the train. And the only other staff update I have is that we do have one retirement coming up, which is Jeanette from our Partnership for Youth, who's been with us for
14 and a half years.
14 and a half
13
years.
and a half.
13 and a half. She's retiring. It's a loss to the Franklin Regional Council of Governments.
Thank you, Linda. Next is planning board update by Kim Pastor.
Kind of quick, but the planning board is exploring the impacts of large-scale solar development on farmlands and forests in the region. And they're going to have a presentation presented by Harvard Forest on this topic on the November 7th meeting. So if you're interested, that's a good meeting to go to. The board also will have a presentation on that, or they discuss newly released rural policy. So, and we'll go over that on the same day. Thank you, that's it.
You have the where and when of the November 7th?
Right here, thank you.
Right here.
Yeah.
At what time?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. They provide pizza.
You better get here at 5:30 for the pizza.
All right.
Okay, personnel committee, Bill?
Yes, we have a change to our travel reimbursement policy. Pink piece of paper in your folder, and on the back side, under out-of-state travel, section 1 is the addition, and this is the council's first reading of this addition. So we are asking, we're doing this to get a standard charge without a standard procedure for compensation on out-of-state travel, which is happening more for us given that we are recognized now nationally as being one of the best performing planning and government councils. So if you take a look at this, it talks about preferred times of travel, how many hours in a day they can claim to be working, and what is expected and what is extra and needs justification, and work time at a conference or an event limited to 7.5 hours per day when it's not a travel day. This is the, not section 1 on the back is our first reading. We will bring it back again at our next reading and vote. If there are any questions, I can try.
All right, thank you, Bill. Next is finance committee, Lynn.
Can I jump in? I forgot to tell people, look at your light purple sheet of paper for flu clinics. Get your flu vaccine, everyone. Sorry.
The Finance Committee has approved a budget amendment of $94,000 in the collective purchasing program in our current budget year. And that's because we have the absorption of a portion of the Hampshire Council of Governments purchasing program. Purchasing revenues are expected to increase to help cover this transition year. Fund balance and grant funds are also available. The Finance Committee also approved a budget amendment of $63,645 in the current year following the expansion of the Cooperative Public Health Service from 11 participating towns to 14. New members have been added to the assessments, balancing the additional costs. Irving, Shelburne, Coleraine, and Bernston have all joined or expanded their membership in the program. All good news. The FCECS Oversight Committee communicated through staff the need of $91,000 to repair communication between the Mount Grace and New Salem towers. Use of capital reserve was approved this afternoon at a Finance Committee meeting. And then I'm going to, as far as the budget workbook, everyone should have a copy. Claire is going to go through this.
Thank you, Lynn. Start us off with a picture from the summit of Sugarloaf. What you're looking at is a view to the north with Toby there, and the film credit goes to Elizabeth Sully. FY19 was another stable year for the COG. We managed $7.7 million in funds agency-wide. 47% of this is under council oversight. Within the general fund budget, revenues exceeded expenses by $94,677. That is an unaudited number. And that surplus is the result of indirect revenues from grants. We do budget conservatively, and we run conservatively throughout the year. On the screen is a chart showing, in proportion to each other, all of our fund balances at year end, including the OPEB fund for health insurance costs for all our employees, both future, current, and retired. You can see that the OPEB fund is our largest savings account. On page 4 of your report are more pie charts that further detail our fund balances. And in the chart on the left, purple is then further explained by the chart on the right, explaining that our general fund balance has two major portions, the undesignated fund balance and our capital reserve.
What does it mean to budget for future employees for OPEB?
So when the actuarial comes in and does our projection of what is our total liability, they include future employees who will then become future retirees. So it's an actuarial projection of all current and future.
And do you know how much per employee you're setting aside per year?
We try to set aside, I think the number is 5% of payroll.
How far out into the future do you go?
I don't get that answer. It's the projection for, which is, I mean, it seems like there should be an answer. Every time that we pay all our bills without tapping into our fund, it seems like one year should fall off the end. That just sort of feels logical to my mathematical brain, but it doesn't. It always goes up.
I do think that, we have really, the Finance Committee has really prioritized putting money away into OPEB because we recognize that if the Franklin Regional Council of Governments ever fails and closes, we don't want to have the possibility of asking you to help us cover our future liability. And that became pretty clear how important that is just this summer when we watched the Hampshire Council of Governments close. And so we are, the work of the Finance Committee is evidenced quite clearly by looking at how much we've been able to put away for our future liability.
set a good example for the towns too, if they need to get moving on this.
Mhm.
Well, that's an example of a deficit that occurred for future liability of current employees. It's harder to wrap my mind around future liability of future employees.
Yep.
What is that?
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
Correct.
Anyway.
And yeah, and Michelle just said it's only gonna go up. It is an elusive figure that
Right.
it doesn't, it feels like every time you put more away, they just say you need to put more away.
Yeah, I mean, there should be some sort of prudent window going out into the future, not sort of an
Right.
infinity, you know.
The next slide I prepared for you is a history of our revenue sources. And I kind of like this slide for a number of reasons.
It's a pretty.
The tiny little checkered section on the bottom is the amount of money that we ask all 26 towns for every year as your regional assessment. And the height of the total bar is with all the other sources that we pull into the county, it sort of feels like how we leverage and multiply this amount of seed money to bring that $7.7 million into the county. It's just a really powerful way to illustrate that, I think. The other thing shows that we work hard to keep that little checkered section at the bottom pretty stable. We know and we recognize that your budgeting challenges are major and high, and we work to keep those regional assessments pretty level year to year to help you with your budgeting. Any questions about that one? I also realized as I prepared this, and I could only go back 3 years, our revenue looks a little more volatile than it really is, so I tried to graph in those big grant pass-throughs. And those are the horizontally striped orange and purple sections. We occasionally get grants where we pass through a lot of money to other agencies. We don't really spend it or do that work here, and it does explain some of our volatility. Our administrative cost history, this is really a rather dull summary of the categories of expense in our general fund, and so I don't have that much to tell you about it, but I feel obligated to show you. Nobody promised finance would be either fun or terribly interesting.
But that last slide.
But you see why I throw in the landscapes,
Yeah.
right? Okay, because this is what it is. But in all seriousness, I'd be happy to take your questions about anything that's in the general fund or in our administrative budgets, or anything else in the report for that matter. On to something that's a little more interesting and lives in your towns, more closely in your towns, the municipal services that we provide. Some highlights from the programs. Shelburne joined the Health District as a full member in FY19. Irving and Coleraine joined in FY20, and just last night Bernardston joined also. As you've heard, collective purchasing made quite a significant expansion for FY20 because we absorbed the highway services portion of the HCOG program. That was the best part. That was the best match to our program, and we felt comfortable taking that on. We hope that the extra volume and the extra towns involved would actually improve prices for Franklin County towns as well. All programs in municipal services had expenses covered by their program revenues in FY19.
And that's a pretty big statement, because remember that for the last, how long, Phoebe? 5 years, we've been telling you that our cooperative public health service, our goal had been to go like this, to reduce reliance on grants and to reduce reliance on reserve to get that program financially stable. So the fact that we still are getting grants in that program but did not use any reserve really shows that we met the goal that we promised we were going to meet.
So then we added 4 new towns, and we'll
So
have to
now,
rejigger the whole thing.
Just to see. So remember this year.
Right. This chart summarizes the municipal service programs, each of which have a page in your report where you can learn more about what they do, and if you wanted to consider joining a program that you're not already in. Charts of these programs in more detail, meaning a multi-year history of expenses and revenues, are in the back of your book on page 26. You can see, looking at this slide, that all 6 of the active programs, again, covered their expenses with their own revenues in FY19. Any questions on those? Some FY20 and 21 priorities, things we hope to get done. We have some funding, as Linda mentioned, for succession planning for the FRCOG itself. We are an aging workforce, and we feel like we should try to prepare as best we can for when some of us retire. We would like to define the Council of Governments goals for our website and our social media, and if we can do that and come to consensus on goals, revise some of those platforms.
We were just at a finance committee meeting, and Casey's like, where's the rural policy plan? I looked in publications, and every staff person was like, oh my God, don't ever look in publications on our webpage. It's terrible.
So this is a good goal.
Yes, it is.
It is. We expect to evaluate and reformulate, if necessary, the accounting program. And we hope to find the right mix of staffing for Cooperative Public Health Service Program now that it has a bunch of new towns, and we've had some turnover, and we're looking to figure out how many people we need for which kind of inspections and which skill sets inside that group. Any questions? Beginning with page 17 of your report, the back section of the rest of the report, essentially the whole back of the report, has short descriptions of our work in the region funded with various grants and contracts. The descriptions are brief, as this report is about our finances, but we encourage you to find longer descriptions on said horrible website or by contacting the program manager directly. 53% of our budget is funded from these external sources. And I realize the blue is a little light, but the bottom is federal grants. That's 82% of this external category. And in the middle are local and private contracts, and in the top is state of Massachusetts money, the stripy box. It's very hard to make these things and think about being colorblind. I'll just say.
Thank you, Claire.
That's really the end of my prepared remarks. We started in Deerfield, we're ending in New Salem, and I'm happy to take any further questions, either about this presentation or anything that you read in the book when you got it in the mail a week ago. Yes.
Hi. Related to the Safe Schools, Safe Streets program, are there any employees of the city of Greenfield included in the grant funds? And if so, are the fringe benefits paid by the grant or by the city?
I can answer that.
Phoebe.
So there are 2 employees of the city of Greenfield school system who are also employees under this, but neither of them are benefited positions here. So those are positions that they have in addition to whatever the work is that they are doing in Greenfield. They're not, to my knowledge, full-time employees in Greenfield.
So they would not be full-time employees in Greenfield?
That's my understanding, yeah. And here they're both at under 10 hours a week. So they wouldn't qualify for any fringe here.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else? Thank you, Claire.
I have 2 questions for council members. One, is this document still helpful? Okay. And two, as I was reviewing it today and looking at page, what does the COG do? Page 2 and 3, we are always looking for what we should submit to town reports, to your town reports. And as I was reading this today, I wondered if this would be what we should submit to town reports, maybe providing some more information of whether your town participates in the municipal service programs we provide. Would that be a good way to do it instead of what we've been doing the last couple of years, what we've done the last couple of years is basically say, here's exactly what we did for your town.
Right.
We do a lot of other stuff too.
Right.
But this would show all the other
This
stuff.
shows the overview of the services that really the
So this, instead of what we did for your town or in addition, that would make it like 4 pages long if we did in addition. That's a lot in the town report.
Is there a way just to list just, your town, what your town had participated in? Not so
Yes.
much everything you did, but
We
just
could
the
do
name
that
of your
instead
building.
of, and this was what it meant.
Right.
So try that this year.
I think that's a great idea.
Done. The beautiful part of that is it's also done.
All right. Thank you. We have a special presentation from Rachel Stoller.
Yep, and I was there.
Is it a PowerPoint?
Yes, and it's,
We may want to move.
Or I can do it with that. Keep going down, scroll down. Public. Employees. Rachel. Communities that care. Yeah, no, that's okay. Didn't talk. That's all right. So I'm going to get started in a minute. Rebecca is handing out packets, but I'm also sending around one additional handout, which is a single sheet. So if we can, if you wouldn't mind sending those. Thank you. Take one passage. Thank you. Sorry, I'm loading everybody up with lots of. Thank you, Rebecca. Okay, so Linda asked if I would talk about the Communities That Care Coalition, which is what I'm here to do. I wanted to draw your attention to page 9 of the council updates. So there's a little blurb about Communities That Care, and the first thing is about our full coalition meeting, which is happening next Friday, October 25th. And so one of the handouts that I sent around is information about that meeting. If you would like to register, we would really love to have more towns represented. I know there are some people in this room who have been to a full coalition meeting. It's a great experience. We do offer lunch. This one is at the Great Falls Discovery Center in Turner's Falls, so we would love to have you. And then the next little announcement I'm going to cover in my discussion about what we offer to towns, but this is a particular thing about our presentation on marijuana and the developing brain, raising youth in the age of legal marijuana. That's a specific presentation that we offer, and we are happy to present to towns. All right. So very quick
overview of the Communities That Care Coalition. How many of you are familiar with it? Oh, more than I expected. So the Communities That Care Coalition has been around since 2003. I have also been around since 2003, working with the coalition. It is a regional health coalition focused on youth health outcomes. And what we mean by that is young people, we do surveys every single year of all 8th, 10th, and 12th graders on a variety of health topics, and this gives us our data to know if we are meeting our outcomes. That doesn't mean that all our strategies are focused specifically on youth, but what we are measuring relates to youth health. And in terms of our region, we cover all 26 towns of Franklin County and the 4 additional towns of the North Quadrant. And because we're doing teen health surveys and the surveys happen in the schools, we work very closely with the school districts, but we also have a lot of other partners. Whoops, sorry, how did that happen? Okay, this just shows the school districts. We also have the FL Royalston Regional School District. We include the tech schools and the charter school as well. And for some of our strategies, even though we don't survey in Irving School Union 28, we do some work with that district as well. Okay, so this is an animated slide. So I was talking about the different sectors that are involved in our coalition. So school districts, of course, other community coalitions, including the Greenfield Safe Schools, Safe Streets Coalition that Mayor Martin mentioned, the district attorney's office, the hospital, parents and families, young people, human service agencies, civic and volunteer groups, town government, but we would love to have more involvement of town government. And I'll talk a little bit about stuff that town governments can do to support youth health. Police departments, local businesses, treatment providers, particularly when it comes to substance use, healthcare, faith-based organizations, the media, including GCTV, and state partners as well. So basically what I'm trying to say is we have a multi-sectoral coalition. So one of the things that I wanted to bring up on Linda's suggestion is that the Communities That Care Coalition has been nationally recognized for using a collective impact approach. Has anybody heard that term before? So collective impact relates to a bunch of sectors working together to achieve common goals. That doesn't mean that they are all working on the same strategies at the same time, but it's the idea that different strategies can be combined together to create a more consistent and more impactful outcome. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the components of a collective impact approach. The common agenda, so that means like some common goals, like we all agree that we want to have healthy young people in our community, and we have some particular ways of knowing if that's happening. Shared measurement is really important. We are a data-driven coalition. Our primary source of data is the Teen Health Survey, which we do, and when I say we, it's the school districts that do the Teen Health Survey every year since 2003 without missing a year, and with our support. And we provide the data analysis, reports. We do a regional report, and that is what we'll be reporting on at the full coalition meeting coming up. We also provide a report to each school district, which is up to the school district to share. We do not share individual districts' data. Thank you.
A couple of years ago, I think you had presented to the Frontier or a regional school committee.
Yes.
Are there plans to continue that? Will you be doing that again, or is it something the school committee needs to ask you to come and do?
Usually the school committee asks us to do that, and we are always happy to do that. And usually what happens is if a school district wants to present its own data and wants some help with presenting it, that's when we jump in. But it really has to be kind of requested by the school district because it's their data.
Perfect, okay.
So that's shared measurement. Okay, why is this not coming?
Rachel, is that the Youth Risk Behavior Survey that you're implementing, or a different tool?
The Youth Risk Behavior Survey is one of the surveys we implement, so we have a cycle of 3 surveys.
Okay.
1 year, it's a prevention needs assessment survey, which has, it focuses a lot on substance use and related categories. Then there's the youth risk behavior survey combined with a national school climate survey. And then the 3rd year is what we call our custom survey, where we take pieces from those other surveys, but we also get our partners to the table and say, what is it that you really want to know about? And we make sure to include those questions.
Thank you.
So my favorite of the collective impact pillars is mutually reinforcing activities. So that's where you bring everyone to the table and find out what they're doing that are supporting the common agenda, and then really talk them up. Make sure that you know what your partners are doing, make sure that they know what you're doing, and that there's a sense of really working together rather than working separately in different silos. Continuous communication is really important. I'll show you an example of that. And then the backbone organization, our team at the COG, which is known as Partnership for Youth, provides the backbone for the Communities That Care Coalition, which means we do all the work of convening people, getting the word out about stuff, organizing the meetings, getting people to the table. We do not make the decisions for the coalition. We get people together to make those decisions. But it's a significant role, and that does require funding, for which we seek federal and state grants for the most part. So this is just an example of our common agenda, our vision and mission. And all of these things are being restated in our new community action plan, which will be coming out at the beginning of 2020, but we're going to give a preview of it at the full coalition meeting. I'm really kind of pushing this meeting, so I would love it for you guys to come.
Maybe just use the mouse.
Okay, I'm going to use the mouse. This is an example of some of our shared measurements. So, and these, this data shows declines in youth substance use from 2003 to 2018, and changes in the priority risk factors. So something important to know is we don't just attack youth alcohol use. If we sort of set out to say we're going to make sure that kids don't drink, it wouldn't work very well. We look at what are the risk factors in the community that make it more likely that young people would use alcohol, and then we work to change those. So examples are laws and norms that favor substance use, both norms within families and within communities, and also laws, things that, that towns have control over. Family management issues are another risk factor, and parental attitudes favoring substance use. So we have strategies that help us to work on all of those risk factors. Whoops. Another example of our common agenda, these are the risk factors that we've prioritized. I mentioned most of them. The other one is perceived risk of harm. So like you could imagine that this is a particular issue with marijuana. If people think that it's not harmful, they're more likely to be lax about talking to their kids about it. And young people are more likely to perceive that it's a harmless substance. I have more to say on that. I am not the greatest with technology. So here's like my favorite thing. All right.
And it's gone.
This is, how do you go back?
You got
Up arrow.
roll those up.
Oh dear, my favorite slide. Okay. Well, I'm just not going to worry about that, but the. Oh my God.
Here, how about you just tell me what to do and I'll click it.
Okay. I would like that slide to stay on the screen for about 3 seconds while I talk about it. So this is what we call our bullseyes. We have 6 work groups, and each of them has a core set of strategies. So the stuff in the middle are what that work group really focuses on making sure happens in the community. All the stuff in the outer circle are things that are happening in the community anyway that we want to make sure that we lift up and reinforce. We could do that by sending an email out to let people know about it, or we could do it by finding some funds to sponsor it, or we could help someone organize it. So there's different roles that the coalition would take, but basically the idea is that we want to really highlight and reinforce any activities that are working to support the work of the work group. Next, thank you. So speaking of work groups, we have 6 work groups. The parent education work group focuses on things like parental attitudes favorable to substance use and reducing those. They do a lot of parent education work in various ways, supporting evidence-based training programs for parents, as well as just events that give parents an opportunity to talk about different issues that are relevant to their children. The Regional School Health Task Force has a representative of every school district we work with on the survey. That is 9 districts. And they plan the survey, but because the survey got easier and easier to plan as we got sort of used to doing it, it's been 17 years, now the Regional School Health Task Force also takes a role in planning the implementation of evidence-based strategies within the schools that help reduce risk factors. So one of those examples, which you have in your packet, is the Life Skills Program. And that is an evidence-based curriculum it's a health curriculum. Most of the school districts are implementing it in one way or another, not always to the extent that they could, but we're trying to support them in doing that. And that has outcomes in youth substance use prevention over the long term, like really far into adulthood, violence prevention, and it focuses on building social emotional skills. So it's not like a curriculum that hammers youth over the head with how risky drugs are. It really focuses on building positive relationships with their peers and adults. And that has been shown to be effective in reducing substance use later on, as well as violence. The Youth Leadership Initiative, which is now called the Youth Leadership Board, focuses on getting young people involved in various community endeavors, things like anything from a town committee to advocating for particular issues at a Board of Health meeting, to presenting at the State House, to speaking at hearings about various strategies that the state is looking at. So it's really kind of broad, but it's basically about building youth leadership in health issues and health-related issues. Policy and Practice Change Work Group focuses on the community laws and norms that may be favorable or unfavorable to youth substance use and other issues. So that committee has a combination of people in municipal and government roles, as well as people who are in recovery. So it brings together a wide range of folks. The Racial Justice Work Group is our newest work group that is focused on changing the culture of communities that care to make it more welcoming and friendly to all people, and in particular people of color, and to understand some of the effects of white dominant culture here in a community that is predominantly white and rural. And then the Mass in Motion Steering Committee focuses on the healthy eating and active living strategies. Many of you have heard of Mass in Motion, which is a statewide movement. We have a local Mass in Motion, we have a local Mass in Motion group that focuses on particular strategies in Franklin County and the North Quadrant, and those are school nutrition, particularly farm to school, and getting local food into school cafeterias, complete streets, and supporting getting more voices involved in complete streets planning, not just the usual people who come to the public hearings. And then age-friendly communities, and where's Deerfield? Deerfield is the pioneer in Franklin County. They have applied for age-friendly designation, and we're hoping that that will set a precedent for other communities in Franklin County. All right, next, moving right along. All right, I'm not gonna spend a ton of time on this, but this shows how we connect to other groups within the community and other coalitions. So the Greenfield Safe Schools, Safe Streets Coalition that Mayor Martin mentioned, the Gil Montague Community School Partnership, the North Quabbin Community Coalition, and then the Opioid Task Force, the Substance and Tobacco Prevention Partnership, which is based at the Collaborative for Educational Services in Northampton, but serves Franklin County as well, the Franklin County Food Council, and there are also other coalitions that we are part of. So the big rule of coalition work is if you want somebody to come to your coalition table, you should be prepared to go to theirs. Thank you. And then this just demonstrates how we are the backbone organization. Our team is the backbone organization to bring all of this stuff together, and that it is an important role. And some of that, this is another animated slide. But some of that backbone function includes guiding the coalition's vision and strategy. I did not say creating the vision and strategy. That comes out of our work groups. but guiding its formation, establishing those shared measurement practices and all that data, supporting all the aligned activities, mobilizing funding, of course, and building public will, which is what I'm doing tonight, and advancing policy that supports our work on the state and national level. All right, how am I doing on time? This just gives an example of one of our logic models. Anyone here terribly afraid of logic models?
Love them.
I've grown to love them. I was afraid of them, but now I love them. So basically, we need to link the strategies that we choose to addressing these particular risk factors in order to create behavior change that leads to health outcomes. So we think of everything we do in terms of a logic model. I'd be happy to do a workshop on building logic models. Next. Okay, health equity. We have a focus on health equity, which means that everybody in our community should be able to live their best and healthiest lives. But there are certain obstacles to that. And so we need to uncover them. And one of those obstacles relates to how some people in the community have less access to things than others. And that can have to do with race, it can also have to do with income, and other factors. So basically we want to move from a model of equality where everyone has essentially the same thing and it doesn't necessarily serve them well, as in the top diagram, to a situation of equity where everyone has what they need to live their healthiest life. So it's just an example of the different size bicycles and the adapted bicycle that everybody needs to be able to access what they need in order to be healthy. So the part that you're all waiting for is what we can offer you as towns. We can offer a lot, and again, one more plug for the full coalition meeting next week. But we can offer you a connection to resources and information. So I did include in your packet some of those resources. That handout on vaping is fantastic. That comes from the Department of Public Health. You can order that for free in packets of 50 from the DPH Clearinghouse. I can tell you how to do that if you want more of those for your town. There's also a handout on youth marijuana and the developing brain and youth health. We have more information on marijuana, and like I said, we are willing to give presentations on that. And again, we are not in any way opposed to marijuana being legalized for adult use. We are not coming out against that. We just want people to understand what the potential impact on youth is and to make sure that young people are not getting access. There's also in your packet, thank you, a stapled handout, which is policies, municipal policies that support youth substance prevention. And who's from Sunderland? Were you there the night I gave the presentation to you guys? Mm-hmm. So we can come and give a presentation to your select board meeting or your board of health meeting. I think in Sunderland it was both select board and the board of health was there to discuss what are some potential municipal strategies that you can undertake that support prevention of youth substance use. We provide support to the life skills program. And this is my little cheat sheet on the life skills program. So all of the districts are implementing the life skills program to different extents, but you as town representatives, you can ask your school district, so hey, what's happening with the life skills? How's that going? What support do you need? And you're welcome to contact us if you feel like, somebody needs training, there's a new health teacher, but they don't know where to get training. That's our job, is to help support the implementation of this program. And then connection with Mass in Motion, I mentioned our strategies. If you're interested in age-friendly community designation, come talk to me. I'll put you in touch with Lisa White, who's working with Deerfield. There are some events coming up. I don't think we have a date yet, but I think it is in December. There's going to be sort of a symposium on age-friendly communities and the village model to try to encourage people to talk about what might work for their town in terms of supporting the aging population. And then finally, one more. Thank you so much, Phoebe. Here are some resources, and I realize that I did not hand out copies of this presentation. But these are some websites that I just wanted to make sure that people were familiar with and can be useful, and I would be happy to, do you send out emails to people? I mean, this can be included in an email, but some of those resources, they're health-related resources. One I will highlight is the county health rankings, which some of you may be familiar with. This is a great resource, especially for us in Franklin County. It doesn't break down by town, but it does give, sorry? Because that was the last time I did this presentation. I'll change that before we send it out. But anyway, that's great data to understand sort of in the big picture what the health picture of our region looks like, and then may give you some ideas of what further information, more broken down, specific information you may want to look for your town. And our website is on there, and one of the cool things about our website, the Communities That Care Coalition website, is all of our data is on there from the Teen Health Survey, so you can get a sense of what kind of data we collect, you can get a sense of what the survey asks and what data we get, and then we're also happy, like I said, to support you with finding out more about the data and cross-tabulating different things to get specific data, so we are happy to do that. And that is it.
I wanted to amplify her point about the life skills and just say that if anybody wants to communicate with your school districts, this is really one of the very special things that is an outcome of this Communities That Care, is that we're one of the only regions in the state, probably the only one, where every school district is actually tackling the opioid crisis, and all other addictions head on by implementing this very high quality prevention curriculum. But if it isn't done right, it doesn't work. And so it's well worth, a little bit of your time to call your superintendent and ask him how well it's being done.
Do you have data on who's taking advantage of that now? And,
Yes.
all that kind of thing? So.
Yes, I do. So I have information on sort of the degree to which different districts are implementing it. And at the time of this status report, a couple of the school districts hadn't reported in. So I think they are all doing something. But you're also welcome to call us, call me, and I can give you specifics on your school district.
Thank you.
And I think Steve had a question.
Well, I was just gonna say, I'd be much more comfortable relying on some objective data relative to the implementation of those programs. It's nice to speak with the superintendent, but they may or may not have a really strong sense of whether a program's being implemented with any fidelity.
Yeah.
So I'll take a look at your data.
Sure,
Thanks.
sure, and you're welcome to call me, and there is a built-in evaluation to that program, like there's a pre and post test that the schools who are implementing should be doing, which you should be able to get access to that data. So I could put you in touch with the Regional School Health Task Force representative for your district.
Thanks.
Other questions? After that presentation, how many of you are coming to the meeting next month? Lunch is going to be
You said lunch, right?
Yes,
Free lunch.
I would love to see you.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you very much.
And I just realized, before I have a motion to adjourn, I didn't introduce Heather Butler and welcome her as the new Buckland Town Administrator and alternate representative. I didn't see you there.
That's the point.
All right, stop.
Profile.
All right. Was there any business not recently anticipated 48 hours in advance? No? All right.
Motion to adjourn.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
One, two.
Yeah!